States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. You all know that the meeting is being taped. So we convened executive session. We pledged public comments. We don't seem to have any public yet. So I'm going to move beyond that to the adoption of the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes, the calendar adoption, approval of the donations, and the accessing of equipment. And I have a motion from Ken and a second from Carol Park.
Okay.
Any questions, discussions? All those in favor, please show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you very much. And now we get to the infamous claims audit report.
What didn't look bad?
It did not look bad.
Oh,
Any questions on it from anyone? In that case, we are going to move on because it was only informational. And we are going to move to the treasurer's report, which requires an action. I need a motion, please. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Sue. Okay, questions? All those in favor, please show of hands. Carol, thank you. Okay, again, it is unanimous. Thank you all very much. Okay, personnel matters. Now, you will remember that this is.
There's an addition, and that's not your fault, it's mine. There's an additional item that was added on after the agenda was sent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. 2021, 2022
Proposed administrative budget. Thank you, Jean. I totally missed that here. I have it because I put up the new schedule. Forgive me. I need a motion, please. Sue, thank you. Carol Park, thank you. Okay. All those in, questions? Anyone have any questions on the administrative budget? And after Susan's presentation, we all understand what is included in the administrative budget. No one has any questions about that because it's a good time if you want to ask. We have Susan and Keith both in front of us. Ha ha. Okay, all those in favor, please a show of hands. Unanimous once again. Thank you all. Now we're going to personnel matters, which you will remember includes the addendum. I need a motion.
motion.
Tony and Ken, thank you both very much. Questions? Anyone have any questions about anything? Everybody is fine. I'm gathering everybody got a chance to read the addendum to it. Okay, then I'm going to take a vote. All those in favor, please a show of hands. Again, unanimous. Thank you all very much. Okay, amended appointments. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the policy. Adoption of the new policy number 3421, Title IX and sex discrimination. Second reading and adoption. I need a motion. Tony, thank you. Carol Park, thank you. Okay.
Linda, I just want to note
Yes.
Ken's objections to certain parts of it with regards to the legalese and the complexity of the policy. And Ken, I assure you that Susan, Jen, and I did our best to work with our attorneys to simplify it as much as possible. We did do another double check. This is the policy we're recommending.
The unfortunate thing, and I shared this with you and with Linda in my email, the unfortunate thing is that policies should be used, a policy handbook, which of course now is digital, should be open and usable for employees, for administrators, for parents, for kids, and they should be usable. They should be understandable. This is not. This policy, and I read it very, very carefully, and I've dealt with policies for 25 or 30 years. This is one of the most obtuse, inaccessible policies I've ever run into on one of the most important issues that I've run into. And it almost, it suggests to me that we should turn these policies into statements. I don't know what you want to call it, administrative guidelines. I worked for years in a school district where we did 3 levels. We had policies, we had administrative guidelines, and then we had a separate guide for parents, kids, teachers, other employees. But somehow or other, these kinds of guidelines need to be accessible to human beings, to you and me, to the people for whom they are important, not just for attorneys with Ivy League degrees. And this one is not.
Bob, a question. Do you have a plain language version of this in like the student handbook or accessible to the parents online? Because that's what we do in Liberty.
The student handbooks have references to this. This policy is a new version of the policy. So when we update the student handbooks for next year, we will have to put it in there. So Ken, we did hear you in your suggestions on the plain language version of it. And Jen is going to look at doing it for working with the executive principals for the employee handbooks. And we will work, Tony, with them to put a more simplistic version in the student handbook. Ken, you need to be careful. You're trying to put the attorneys out of business, and that's not always a good thing.
Well, I think Shakespeare was right about attorneys.
Well,
Jean, might you make a note of this so that we don't lose it?
Yes, ma'am.
For
It's
next year.
actually very well noted, and I will.
But I
continue
mean,
to
some
note
kind of a note that you will remind the board, should we not remember, or Bob, should he get busy doing 10,000 other
it.
things?
Absolutely.
Good, so.
It's
let's
important to
hope-
note that this is a policy that was brought up by the prior administration. It is meant to be very legalese based because it's of the way that the title was written, or not the title was written, but the addendum to the title was written. And
That's
there's more
fine,
to,
Jean.
yeah,
but
there's more to
What
come.
we're interested in, what Ken is interested in, and what Tony is saying, is we're going to look into getting two softer,
Yes,
not softer in content, but softer in dialect
absolutely.
policies. So
Yep.
I would just appreciate it if you could make one of those reminder things to get back to us and say
Yes, ma'am.
August or something. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a good timing for everyone, you think? Bob, that work? Great. Thank you very much.
August.
So after all this, we need to have a vote. So all those in favor of the policy, please, show of hands. And you don't all have to vote for it. It's okay. Everything doesn't have to be unanimous. Please don't feel pressured. Hi, Linda. Welcome.
Sorry.
That's okay. Are you voting with us yet, or are you going to wait?
What is this on?
We're on number 9.01, adoption of the new policy, which is the Title IX sex discrimination, second
You
reading.
that fast already? Wow. Okay.
I know. We just zipped through this today.
I think so.
Yeah, you
I'm
could have
sorry.
taken the night off.
Wait.
That's all right. I think you're the last working, no, except for Simi. I can't say the last working person. That's not, and Kathy, you work sometimes, right? So there you go.
I have to admit, I had my grandson, so I wasn't
We were
working.
covering for you.
Well,
We
I
were
was
fine.
working and doing babysitting a little bit.
All right, so let's once again, a show of hands, all those in favor of the policy as written.
Got it.
So we have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we have a unanimous vote of the 8 people now present. 9.02, amended appointments for the fiscal 2021 year. Okay, I need a motion. Let's start with that.
Motion.
Okay, I need a motion. Simi and Tony, thank you. All right. Discussion. Does anybody have any questions on this?
I do.
Go.
Um,
Speak.
I thought there was 3 individuals that were involved in different appointments as far as, and I only see one person listed on these.
There were 3 individuals appointed to the new title. Only one of the individuals was appointed to specific positions at our reorg meeting.
Okay,
So I tried to explain this in that memo, that
that's right.
these functions are now incorporated into that new position. And so therefore, the compensation is rolled into that base salary, the new base salary.
Mhm.
And the purchasing agent is really the only required position that the board has to do at the reorg meeting. But we wanted to acknowledge where we started the year and how we're amending the year so that all of our records tied out. And if we are not here, someday somebody could piece all of this together.
Exactly.
Even without Jen or I or anybody else here.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
I hope that makes sense.
It did.
And feel
And I
free to
did,
add.
I did remember it in the memo now, so thanks.
Okay, this is almost embarrassing, but we are on item 10 now. Bob, that's you.
So just a couple of quick things. You may have read it in the paper recently, but I called this one. We now have a new Commissioner of Education. It is Betty Rosa. She has dropped the title of interim. I told anyone who would listen, as soon as the chancellorship was filled, the likelihood of Betty becoming permanent commissioner increased by 100%, and it proved to be correct. Also, we are working, we have a small committee together at the request of our districts, and I had said this in a couple of emails home to you over the past month or two. We're working to bring more and more of our students back, more days per week. Starting on March 1st, K through 6 special ed, which is basically White Sulphur Springs, GMOD, and a couple of classrooms in RPEC proper, Spark, IDT, which are 2 gen ed programs that we run, ITAP, middle school and high school, and alt ed will be coming back 4 days a week. We will remain remote on Wednesdays only. Natasha is working with her staff to go through the details. Jesse and Gary are working through the logistics as to the hows, whys, and wheres to assure that we have adequate space in our rooms for social distancing. Our protocols that are in place now have been fairly sound. We just need to ramp them up. We are going to restrict the movement of students around the building and rather zoom in when we need to do specials and stuff, at least for the first couple of weeks, to see how it works. Out of the 124 students eligible to come back in these programs, 30 have opted to remain remote completely. That's approximately right, Natasha? So based on our average daily attendance, based on the number of students remaining remote, we think we can safely do this. We need to get these kids back. Hybrid is not working. Our attendance figures on a daily basis are off by at least 50%. This is the only thing that we can do to assure that they have an opportunity. We are also looking as of April 1st to bring back all of our career and tech students and our middle school, high school special ed program. Many of our CTE programs, our certificated programs, our health doc programs, cosmetology, we're actually looking to try to bring them back sooner than April 1st because they need as much seat time as possible to meet their certification requirements. We had put 2 conditions on bringing more kids back. Condition number 1 was that the county 7-day rolling average had fallen drastically. The 7-day rolling average has fallen from 10% on January 1st to 3.4% today. The other one was vaccinations for our teachers. Well, unfortunately, more than 50% of our staff has elected not to be vaccinated. Of that 50% that is elected not to be vaccinated, of those willing to be vaccinated, we have on standby with public health vaccinated 62% of them, Jen?
Yes.
So that is no longer a qualifier, since something that was offered to make our workplace as safe as possible was passed upon by at least half of our employees. They will have another option, but with unvaccinated people in the building, the risk is still going to be there. So we are going to use social distancing and mask wearing to compensate where common sense won't prevail.
Bob,
Yes, Linda.
I have a question. Do you have a general feeling for why people wouldn't be vaccinated? Why they chose that way?
They don't trust the vaccination. They don't feel it's effective. There are those that don't believe this is a thing, that it's not a problem. You can run, and Jen, if I'm missing anything, help me. You can run the entire gamut of reasons not to be vaccinated. Some are on principle. They're all over the map.
And we have to subject everybody who is being vaccinated to all these people who are choosing not to be vaccinated?
You cannot mandate them to be vaccinated. And a kicker to it is we've been trying to keep our kids safe by keeping primary and secondary exposures out of school. The state issued 2 memorandums in the past 45 days prohibiting that practice. We can only keep symptomatic students out of school. If they've been exposed and we know that, we can't keep them out of school if they have not started to show symptoms or they're not under quarantine.
Bob, I would expect that we are required to notify parents of students whose teachers refuse to be inoculated.
There's no requirement of it, Ken. It's the same way if somebody doesn't have a vaccination. There are no notification requirements. It's a FERPA issue.
And it's probably against the law to do it.
Yep, everyone has a right. Simi's shaking his head. He knows what I'm saying. Can't mandate it.
That's right.
Bob, we do have a mask requirement and the right to a mask requirement. Am I correct?
We've had a mask requirement since we reopened. Public health has a mandatory mask requirement in place as of this time.
Have you had any difficulty with people?
We've written up 4 people for it, yes.
And what is the next step after you write them up?
It's progressive discipline. HR handles it. I stay out of it.
But it's,
But I will tell you, I would say we have almost 100% compliance amongst our staff. It took a couple of them to get written up to send the message. It worked.
good. And I assume someone checks around every once in a while just for the sake of it.
Yep, looking in windows and making sure.
Thank heavens for small favors, right?
And let me see. So the reopening, our new commissioner. I thought there was one more thing. Susan, am I missing anything that I needed to touch on? You don't think so? Natasha? Jen? The only other thing is we're working, Jen predominantly and myself are working almost daily with public health to coordinate vaccination for our school districts. Out of the 2,400 educational workers in Sullivan County eligible in Group 1B to be vaccinated, only 1,400 have indicated they wish to have the vaccination. Of that, we've probably inoculated 500 through the available doses. Anyone who will listen in Albany, if you have a hook to Senator Martucci, if you have a hook to Assemblywoman Gunther, I've been doing it weekly. We need to lobby for more vaccine in this county. Ulster County, whose population is only maybe 2.5 times that of Sullivan, is getting 7 times the amount of vaccine Sullivan is. And I challenged our elected officials that this seems to be based on affluence as to who's eligible for a vaccination. Said we're one of the poorest counties in the state, and my colleagues in the North Country are in the same boat. The vaccine is going to New York City, and it's going to the more affluent counties that support the administration in Albany. And unfortunately, we're not in that county, right, Simi?
And I have to just mention, I'm going to raise all kinds of hell tomorrow because we were just told today that they will on Thursday have our second shot for all of law enforcement.
On Thursday.
Yes.
So I will tell you, so you'll appreciate this. I've been competing with you folks because if they get 200 doses, you guys get 100, I get 100. And the sad reality is we are not up to speed in this county. I was basically told their focus this week is on second doses. They don't have enough staff to handle both first and second.
So, yeah.
This will be the first week in 5 weeks. There will be no first round vaccines given out.
Have most of you on the board had the availability? I'm not asking if you've taken it because that's a personal question, but have you had the availability of it if you choose to have it?
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy, you have not? Well, you're young.
So Linda, that's all I've got, Linda.
You're muted, by the way, Kathy. Thank you, Bob. Before we go any further, I just want to say, Natasha, we just accepted your resignation. I just want to tell you that I wish you the best of luck in whatever you choose to do. You have a whole life ahead of you. You're still young, and I'm sure you're going to do great. Have a good one. What could I say? Okay,
She's going to be with us for the next couple months. So
Yes.
Yeah,
I
but
need,
we accepted her resignation tonight, and it required a statement at least. I'm looking this way because that's where you are on my computer.
I need to ask if we could go back to the amended appointments and vote.
Jean, we did it as a single motion.
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
always do, yeah. We
Oh, I'm
always
sorry.
do. Yeah, Anthony asked me the same thing a minute ago. We vote on the amendment at the same time as we vote on the personnel. We've always done it as a.
Oh, no. This is for the amended appointments for the fiscal year for Jen Mitchell. That
was voted already.
We voted on that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that was voted, Jane.
So we have
Thank you.
voted on everything.
Unanimous.
Okay, comments by the board. I'm going to go around, and I'm going to start with Sue because she's got her hand up.
I have my hand up. Last meeting, I mentioned that we were doing the Capitol Conference, and we had the Capitol Conference Zoom meeting was just how to lobby, what to say. They didn't even go over the legislative agenda, which I'm going to forward to everybody. It's a document. It's published. Actually, it probably came to us in our mail, but I'll throw it out. Anyway, we did have calls with Martucci, Senator Martucci, and Aileen Gunther. I was asked, Dr. DeFore, by someone to mention the vaccines, and we did. Senator Martucci especially was like all over that. He was, being new, he was very angry to hear that we didn't have enough vaccines. So he took that one and he's running with it. I just want to say I was impressed with him, new guy. He had his finger on the pulse of what was going on. I think he'll be receptive if we end up and we are able to have those luncheons again. I think they would both be great. I can't say enough about Aileen. She's the best. She had actually state aid runs for the other schools. I will tell you, I had notes. We did speak to the new, is it Dr. Rosa? Is she? And the head of the regions. They were both there. And I had notes. I can't find them anywhere, but they were both very receptive. That was actually on the state side, a general in the state side, but individually, the smaller groups. One of the things that caught me was there was a woman there from Port Jervis, and she talked to both of them about how in Port Jervis, they're right across the river from Delaware School District in Pennsylvania. And they get a lot of complaints in Port Jervis that Delaware's back to school, they have sports, they're doing all these things, and it's going well. And she goes, well, what are they doing right that we're not doing? And I think that was an interesting question in a rural, a lot of our rules are made for the metropolitan areas, and they're not looking at our rural areas a little bit in general. And I thought that was an interesting question. Didn't get a straight answer, but it was an interesting point to be brought up in a meeting. Anyway.
So both Delaware and Wayne are back in session and playing sports. The answer to your question is different governor.
Well, no, it's a different state altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And the point that the people in Port Jervis are asking their board, because they see it right across the river, they have relatives over there, and they're saying, how come they're doing it and doing it right? They're not having any problems. And we've got all these restrictions. And again, the answer, which was sort of came in discussion, was a lot of what the rules are for us are more metropolitan than they are rural. And why can't we be a little bit more lenient up here than we are in the cities or whatever? So those questions were brought up. Both of them were very receptive to all the comments. There were many, and I apologize. I can't find my notes anywhere. But
no, I'm just going to add to you, just going to answer something that you said, just in case people don't realize it. I only know it because I have a connection to the city. Schools have gone back mandatory except for high schools. High schools are still remote. And, things like restaurants, they were carrying on the same way. They were saying, why can't we open if upstate can open? And upstate is anything outside of the 5 boroughs of Manhattan. So they have just begun to open with 25%.
And Sue, just so you know, there is nothing out there keeping schools closed. It's a local decision.
Okay.
If Port Jervis wanted to bring all of their kids back and they could do it safely and they can do it within the confines with social distancing, they can do that.
Okay. Anyway, it was a lively group and a lively discussion. Again, there was a lot about, of course, Mike Martucci worked in a bus company, so he knew a lot about transportation aid for the school districts. Again, it doesn't affect us as much, but there was a lot of lively discussion about all of that. And again, very, very receptive, two very receptive legislators. And I was, again, we have a brand new guy, and I was impressed. And of course, Aileen, can't say enough good.
And just so you know, I'm hosting a meeting on Friday with all of the superintendents, Assemblywoman Gunther, and Senator Martucci to talk about budgets.
They're coming in, or is it Zoom?
Everything is Zoom.
Everything
There's
is
no coming in.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you the truth, it makes it easier for me to get a hold of them
Yeah,
because they're far more flexible on Zoom
yeah.
than when I tried to get them when they were 1 day a week down in district.
So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
I'm going to go around now. I'm going around my screen, and my screen brings me next to Tony. Do you have a board comment you'd like to make or something you want to say?
No, ma'am. I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And down to Simi.
All good.
Great. Carol Park.
I'm fine, thank you.
Ken? Good. Kathy? And Linda?
I'm good. I'm just glad to hear that there's movement of getting the kids back in school and all. It's good to hear for the communities and for the parents and all. So
For sure.
good luck with it.
I don't know. I watched my 2.5-year-old granddaughter try and do things in preschool on Zoom. That just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work at all. Well, thank you all. And if there is nothing else from anyone here, Kathy, it's your turn.
Here we
Kathy
go.
makes a motion for adjournment and Ken is going to second it. Would you all show of hands? Bob, you can't show your hand. You're not voting person. Okay. Unanimous.
I can't wave goodbye.
You can wave
Come on,
goodbye.
everybody.
Thank you all. Teresa,
Bye.
sorry it was so short after you got here, but we were
Bye-bye.
quick.
Good night, all.
Well, be
Good night.
safe, be healthy, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Good night.